I used to say it's pre-soaked or it's not, but then I'll say I'll sprinkle on a little bit for good measure. And I've recently realized that it does matter, and it changes the way an ice-dyed piece looks if you sprinkle on extra, even though it has been pre-soaked. I dyed 2 shirts, and I'm going to show you what they look like right before I rinse them, because you can even see the difference before you start rinsing. I had them sitting on a seedling mat with the lid on, and it kind of creates like a little greenhouse effect in there, so I can speed up the batch time a little bit, because I'm excited to see and post the results. Okay, this bin here, this was pre-soaked in soda ash. No soda ash was sprinkled on top of it. So you can kind of see here some flowiness. These were also set up with probably a 45-degree incline, so that's why we are seeing lines that flow down like that on there. This one had half a teaspoon of soda ash sprinkled on top with the ice and the dye. I put it on at the same time that I put on the dye and ice, so there was no delay. Because I did a previous infographic where I said like I delayed the application of sprinkled on soda ash, and I think that might have been confusing. But anyway, so I did it right this time. And as you can see here, this one is much darker. There's no like washed away effect. And this side has that. And I think I prefer this. So on this one, as the ice is melting and moisture is washing through, there's a constant supply of soda ash. So that makes it really potent. And it's doing its job. It's making the dye bond and be really bold and dark. And then on this side, the ice can wash the soda ash through. So as it's melting and washing through, it's pushing dye through and it's pushing soda ash through, and the soda ash becomes much less potent on the surface here. And you can get the watercolor washed out look. So here, as the sprinkled on soda ash is dissolving, it's continually providing more soda ash, and so it really amplifies the bonding effect here at the surface, and I think it should look different actually. Okay. Also, another common question is, does sprinkled on soda ash cause soda ash burn? And so people will refer to like those little white fuzzies as soda ash burn. See if we can get even closer to see that. So that people see that and they say that's soda ash burn. I'm not here to be like the authority on this matter, but I am not convinced that I have experienced what I would call soda ash burn. Yes, I see little fuzzies there. So over here, we also have little fuzzies. They're not quite as apparent, but the fabric is not as dark. The fibers sticking up are not going to be as noticeable if the fabric is lighter. So you can still see little fuzzies in here. And from my perspective, it's like the same, they're the same. It just looks more obvious here because this is darker. But on the topic of does soda ash burn exist or not, don't take my word for it. I am not the authority on this. I'm just making guesses here. I'm just showing you what I see. I don't know if it's a thing. I'm not convinced based on what I've seen, but that doesn't mean somebody else has experienced something that's not soda ash burn, you know? So I'm just putting that disclaimer out there. Don't go comment on people's posts on Facebook or Reddit or whatever and say, Corky Lorenz made this video and showed us that soda ash burn is not a thing. I don't want you to go do that to other people. Okay, I want to pull these out and show you what they look like so you can see kind of like the composition and the overall look as I'm pulling it out. These are using the fleece method of getting flowy ice dye on thin fabrics. I use the fleece to bulk the thin fabric so that the details will be bigger. If you have thin fabric, then it crinkles and folds really small, and that's what the details will look like when the dye is sitting there. The details will be smaller. And so we want big flowy lines, so we force it to be a thick fabric. And in my experience, a polyester fabric, whether it's felt or fleece, works better than a natural fiber fabric. Okay, so this is the bottom of the shirt. Let me just continue to pull this out so you can see what's happening. Okay, so it's pretty dark in the middle, and then on the edges we get some fall off in color saturation and like how dark it is. This will also change after I rinse it, so don't take this as like the result. We'll see. I have the 2 shirts that have been washed and dried, and we are ready to compare. I am not surprised by these results. I think both shirts are good. I do have a preference, and I'm curious what your preference is based on these results. So the first one I'm going to show you is the one that had the extra sprinkled soda ash. All right. Let's hang it up here so we can get the overall full effect of it. All right, so it's nice. Let me take you up closer so we can look at this. What I'm seeing that I think matters here with the sprinkling on of soda ash. I used the colors Raven, which you can see mostly here, and Indigo Blue, which is here. I don't think Indigo Blue is as affected by this as Raven and colors that have red, orange. Indigo Blue seems to flow pretty well regardless of your process. So that's a color that if you want flowy results, get that one because it's pretty reliable. But it seems like the soda ash sitting on the surface of the shirt is it's like providing a constant source of soda ash, and it's doing its job. Like it's creating the bonds in the fabric to keep the dye permanent. So as the ice is flowing through, it's never fully washing away the soda ash. So on the surface, it's getting the highest amount of bonding power. So I think you see that here with, these are the peaks of where the dye and the ice was melting, and the Raven kind of just is the darkest in the middle of those spots. So overall, nice look. Okay, pretty good. Now let's check out the one where there is no extra soda ash sprinkled on. I should mention I did not turn these inside out before I dyed them, and I'll show you why people like to turn stuff inside out, especially with Raven. Okay, so here we are, and this is a great example of flowiness with ice dye. Check that out. So you can see here the Raven and the Indigo Blue are behaving more the same. The Raven is not concentrated as much in like the center of the peaks. Like it's a little harder for me to pick out where was the peak, because the color and like the darkness of the color is more dispersed. So I like that, although I think the other shirt looks cool too. I like to get into the weeds of the details here, and I enjoy the way we can see washed out effects in the Raven. But the Indigo Blue, I think, is more forgiving about this. Right here you can see there's like some speckling of the component colors for Raven. We've got some pink, yellow, and blue. So when you turn the shirt inside out, you're less likely to see that speckling if it's going to happen. So if we look at the back, the speckling is still there. So that might have just been like a particularly, like a perfect storm for it, but it's less noticeable on the back. So that might have been how the front would look if I had turned it inside out first. You can see some more flowiness with the yellows that are in the Raven. I think my official recommendation now for ice dye and flowiness is not to sprinkle on extra soda ash unless you want to make the reds like stick exactly where they land, because that's what it's going to do. I don't like that, but so this is it. Let me know what you think. I forgot to show you another shirt. Let me show you. This one was dyed with Raven and Imperial Purple. Love this one. I don't think I added extra soda ash on this, and we can see that lovely like watercolor washed out effect. So really enjoy that. For the sake of like seeing these compared, I'm gonna try to put them up here next to each other. Whoa! All right, does this help so that we can see the difference here? So over here, like these were incline dyed. So the Indigo Blue is flowing down farther, and on this shirt, the Raven is staying more where it was placed. But on this shirt, you can see anywhere that there's the Indigo Blue, there's also some of the Raven present. So adding more soda ash on top is gonna make some colors not move as far. So let me know what you think. Is this what you see when you do ice dye?